The issues that a public representative has to deal with on a weekly basis are wide and varied, and of course, given my role in Westminster and in the Assembly and the many constituency issues which there are, I suppose life on a day-to-day basis will throw up lots of different issues. In Westminster this week, for example, we were debating the whole issue of the current credit crunch, the impact on the economy, and what can be done about it. We've been doing the same, of course, in the Northern Ireland Assembly at the Executive, and Nigel Dodds, my colleague, was making a statement at the very start of the week about what might be done in prioritising government spending to try and deal with some of the issues which are facing people at present. I think the first thing I should say is that people must realise that there is a limit to what politicians can do in what is a global economic recession, and just as the government at Westminster has shown that it is quite limited in the impact which it can have, so that is true at a local level here as well. However, through the Executive, which I'm a member of, we have looked at how we might prioritise spending. We've looked at how we might bring forward some projects, and also how we might reallocate some of the money to deal with those people who are worst hit by the current credit crunch and the recession. And of course, one of the big things that we have done is to introduce a package which should lead to about 100,000 people in Northern Ireland getting £150 help with their fuel bills this winter. I think that that's very essential, especially given the number of people who come into my advice centre and are indicating that ordinary household bills are now becoming more and more difficult for them to meet. As the Minister for the Department of the Environment, I have been looking for ways in which I can speed the planning system up to try and bring forward investment projects and building projects, so that those in the construction industry who find themselves out of jobs perhaps can get opportunities to get some work. And through the PPS 21, which should allow for the building of more houses, though not free for all, in the countryside, I think that we'll manage to do some of that through streamlining the planning process, which will lead to many minor planning applications being dealt with in about 4 weeks rather than the normal 3 months. That should bring work onto the market fairly quickly and should help a lot of small builders as well. And of course, with major projects, I've been seeking to introduce a system which should have strategic projects being dealt with in about 6 months rather than the normal 2 years that it took in the past. So, I mean, there are some things that we can do, and we're trying to work at those and work at them fairly innovatively to try and deal with the issues which affect ordinary constituents. At Westminster this week, we have also had a number of very important issues, not least the issue of what is going to happen in Iraq, and I had the opportunity to speak during the statement on the troop announcements, or the announcements of troop withdrawals from Iraq next year, when the statement was made in the House of Commons on Thursday. I think the first thing that I should say, having had the opportunity to visit some of the forces in Iraq and meeting people actually from my own constituency here in East Antrim, some from Ballycarry, some from Carrickfergus and Newtonabbey, that I was amazed, first of all, at the professionalism, and secondly, the pride and the passion which all of them felt about the role which they were undertaking there, whether it was in helping to rebuild some of the infrastructure, or to train elements of the Iraqi army so that they could take over the role of guarding their own country and do it effectively, or in securing the border between Iran and Iraq, where of course a lot of the insurgents are coming through and a lot of supplies for insurgents are coming from. And I mean, all of these young people, mostly were young people, were absolutely dedicated to that task. And sometimes when I hear people here at home complaining about the troops, and you know, you get people even talking about them being murderers. I think that they should go out and see the difficult conditions under which they work, and also the pride that they have in the job that they're doing. And they certainly don't see themselves as people who are out there oppressing the Iraqi people. Rather, they see themselves out there as people who are helping to build a better society for people who for so long have lived under the jackboot of a fascist dictator. However, I think that it is important that we recognise the work that has been done, and also ensure that the foundation which has been laid is not neglected, but that further work is done on it. And I was impressing that on the Prime Minister during the statement in the House of Commons. One other, just at a local kind of constituency level, with the bad weather that we have had, I've been dealing with things like bus routes, and for children going to school in the mornings, the fact that the routes have not been salted, that meant that buses have not been able to get along them, children have missed school. And I suppose you go from the kind of lofty heights of Westminster down to the ordinary mundane issues which have to be dealt with in the local context, and whether that is dealing with people's housing problems, people dealing with traffic problems that people face with, maybe cars running through their areas and causing accident and difficulties like that, or maintenance schemes on housing executive estates. All of those kind of things are the kind of issues that I've been dealing with. And just last week, I do what's called a street surgery every other weekend. Last week I was in Jordanstown. What happens, we normally send out a leaflet around the area a week before, invite people to ring in if they've got a problem. It saves them having to come to the office. Then I call out with them the next Saturday, or I simply will meet them at maybe a local community centre or whatever. And in that way it helps to keep in touch with your constituents. So I think we've got to be innovative as to how we do this. The one thing I do believe is that a public representative, whilst there are duties that they've got to do at Westminster and duties that they've got to do in the Assembly, they also have a duty to keep in touch with constituents. And hopefully this initiative of the YouTube, as well as all of the other things that we do through the Advice Centre, through the street surgeries, through going to public meetings, etc., will help to keep me in touch with your views, but also now you've got access to let me know how you feel about the performance of the party, the performance of me as an MP, and also the kind of issues that affect you on a day-to-day basis.